How do you cultivate inner peace and maintain it? And what does it feel like to be at peace? Now, the word cultivate is actually the wrong word to use, because peace isn't cultivated, it's not created, it's not sourced. When looking at existence, you will see that the basis on which existence functions, whatever it may be, is within the element of peace. I cannot sit here and record myself speaking if there's no element of peace. You cannot sit down and hold a conversation with someone if there is no element of peace. The same goes for animals. Animals are actually more often viewed at peace than humans, surprisingly. Once the animal, such as the lion, catches its prey and eats with a full stomach, you see it, it's at peace. So why has peace become such a goal? The final goal in life is not to be at peace. Peace is a prerequisite of life to take place. There are no goals involved here. But what happens is that even though the peace is shining through the being from a young age, just like the sun, it can be blocked by clouds, but in our case it is blocked by the contents or the events that surround us. And so the presence of this peace isn't felt whilst engaging in life. So how does one re-establish this connection with their inner peace? And how do they allow their inner peace to grow or become more present within them, become more vibrant, up to a point where it starts to radiate out of their being, to a point where other humans and other beings, animals, feel this peace radiating outward? So when looking at the life situation around us, there are unfortunately too many ties, too many strings attached to the events, which essentially lead to the reason of feeling in a certain way internally. Events outside are dictating how we feel on the inside. Just like the puppeteer pulls the strings to maneuver the puppet, the events are tied to our internal field, our internal space, and so the events are pulling strings which then translate into a feeling, a sensation that is ultimately covering the initial emptiness, or in other words, peace. So spiritual practice is to really cut these strings, is to slice these strings and not allow the external events of life dictate our internal feeling, our internal space and ambience. So, what spiritual practice does this? As we take these walks, we are slowly moving towards this. We are slowly cutting string by string. We are discussing aspects that will make you aware of your internal space more. And this awareness takes you to seeing that one aspect of your internal space is tied to an external aspect, such as an event. And so this gives you the decision to cut the string. In other spiritual practices, the very obvious meditation. You are sitting down in stillness, inviting the stillness, being the stillness, and watching how the thoughts constantly try to drag you out of the stillness. And so the act of purely observing these thoughts, you are untying the strings attached to your internal field. So now you've reached a position where you've cut the strings. At this point, you feel rather empty. But note that within this emptiness, there is still a string allowing you to judge, or the string is still bringing out the judgment that this internal space somewhat has a negative connotation. It is so empty. It is boring. What do I do in life now? All I see is an empty canvas. Now, this is the transitionary period. It is in this period where you kind of just have to have faith. You kind of just have to surrender. Because these judgments of this empty space are still trying to drag you out of the emptiness, or are still trying to cover up the emptiness. But if you pull it through, and I know you can, what eventually happens is the emptiness starts to grow on you. When looking at the white, blank canvas, you have no option but to start seeing the peace within this emptiness. And it's at this point where you realize that you can do whatever you do on this blank, white, empty canvas. You can draw out whatever you want. This brings you to a state of liberation. What starts to happen is the peace, once it's resurfaced, it starts to really grow, because you are no longer giving so much attention to wherever the strings are tied to, such as the external events. You are now bringing your attention to the peace, to the emptiness. You are allowing yourself to immerse, surrender, and accept this peace. And you start to feel it in your heart. It's a warm sort of gratitude, love, kind of peaceful feeling. And at this point, you should allow this peace to anchor you to the moment. Don't let external thoughts come back to you, because they will come back. You will be tested over and over again. You will constantly be challenged and re-invited to leave the peace. But once you get to the point of no return, you are the embodiment of peace. And so your entire being starts to vibrate to this emptiness, to the peace. And so just like how peace is the essence of existence, just like how peace is the initial ingredient required for anything to happen, you are emanating this essence. You are the essence. This peace will begin to grow. People around you will start to feel this. So rather than events rubbing onto you, events having an impact on you, you will start to have an impact on the events. You will start to rub off on others in the events. And so once your attention is turned inward, you start to become tremendously more sensitive, but in a very subtle way. Everything you experience, which may seem on the outside, is experienced internally. And so when the internal is giving the attention, is giving the energy, it starts to become more vibrant. And so this enhances your sensitivity to life. When speaking to an individual, you are no longer floating around in your head, trying to understand what this individual is saying. You start to pick up forms of communication, forms of expressions beyond the verbal. Start to feel the energy. And sometimes you'll find that when speaking to certain individuals, you just don't feel at ease. So you may distance yourself. It is in this state where you become an energy converter. Negative energy enters you only to be converted into positive energy. Where initially negative energy from certain events externally may enter you and just entangle you further and do not leave, and so you start to emanate and bounce off this negative energy further. But no, at this point it does not become entangled. Whatever negativity enters you is converted into positivity. Even while being in nature, you may be sensitive enough to really feel the peace and the stillness within nature. Standing next to a tree alone, feeling its vibrant energy emanating outwards. It is at this point where you even feel your heart beginning to expand outwards stretching far and wide. Whatever situation internally blocking you, or any internal knots, are untied and released and surrendered. The warmth in your heart pushes you to smile. Cannot help but smile. You'll find that some people are freaking out because you're just smiling for no reason. How dare you smile for no reason? Something external is supposed to happen for you to be happy internally. Within this transition point, it is for this reason that certain people in your life may fall away. New people may be introduced. Your life starts to recalibrate itself because your internal space is what dictates the ambience of your life outside of you. Whatever you have on the inside is always manifested outside of you. And whatever is perceived will also dictate the internal. And this is the nature of existence. And so if you are able to observe the happening of this process, can you allow yourself to be within the essence of the process, which is peace? And if there's a way to describe it, it would be silence. It is at this point where you feel that me and you are family. The person to your left, right, behind you, whichever individual you interact with, is family. Even the person walking across the street that you do not know, that you've never seen before, who doesn't know you, who's never seen you before, you feel like they are family. You feel very close to this individual. If you continue to allow this peace to take form within you, nothing but beauty will come out of it. If you allow this peace to anchor you deeper and deeper into the moment, nothing but bliss will come out of it. And so here you look at the world through calm eyes, unwavered by events. No matter how strongly tied the string is to your internal space, it is your internal space that now starts to pull the strings of the events around you. People will randomly come up to you, asking you what to do in a certain situation. People may just want to sit next to you for no reason, for absolutely no reason. But these things aren't to be identified with. I wish for you to reignite and spark the peace within you and allow it to emanate into the world. And I hope that you can feel the tremendous amount of gratitude that the moment deserves. And may you bathe yourself in the sweet bliss of existence. Don't take life so seriously. You're just here, shuffling through, doing what it is that needs to be done in the moment. But always be there while it's done. Let that peace be the anchor to the moment. Thank you for walking along. See you on the next walk.